and welcome to a new segment of the Valor Series, the Relegation Recap, where we take a look back at the teams that lost in the quarterfinals and put their standing in the top 8 to the test. My name is Bill Jump Carter, and joined with me, Mr. Paul Inverum Toddkill. Now, Inverum, these teams not only were put to the test, but all is on the line here in the relegation matches. You win, you stay in the top 8, you lose, and you go back to the open qualifier.
There's a lot at stake here for these teams. Nobody wants to be relegated. They want to stay here, get those points in the top 8. Those points that, of course, are so important when you're going up against the giants in your region. Nobody wants to go back, but of course, somebody has to. And the teams that came out here in week number 3 struggled a little bit. Those week 2 teams, they are a bunch of powerhouses.
Not only did you see some struggles in the quarterfinals from 4 of the 8 teams, but you also saw some of those struggles translate as well into the relegation matches. But with that, let's go ahead and get right into it. Europe is up first. The first quarterfinal match was Team Queso taking on the Jungle Book squad. The Jungle Book squad, unfortunately, were unable to field themselves a roster, therefore securing the victory was Team Queso, putting themselves back into the top 8. Now, in Virum, we saw Team Queso's performance in the quarterfinal match for week number 3. What are we to expect for them coming into week number 4?
They need to come out strong here in week number 4. Obviously, they're a team that has a good org behind them. They're a solid organization in Europe. They have that infrastructure, but they need to prove it here. They're still very much an untested team. There is a lot on the line for them. They need to show dominance in week number 4.
Dominance, well, if you want to talk about dominance, let's look over to the second European relegation match, and that was For the Dream taking on Existence. What did we see in that match in Virum?
What we saw was some amazing play from For the Dream. They came out strong here in the early game. Existence tried to find some early game aggression, but it just seems like For the Dream had all the answers. I have to give props to Existence. They were coming out trying to make plays, but in the end, they just kept getting shut down time and time again, and a lot of that was on the back of Arena of Violet. The Violet play coming out from the side of FTD was absolutely on point. There's a reason Violet is in the name right there, and the play that we saw was absolutely phenomenal. Every single time Existence tried to make something happen, they just couldn't. They overstepped, constantly spread themselves out, and they were just picked apart. The individual mechanics for the Dream were phenomenal from start to finish right now, and we're seeing it here. Watch how Arena of Violet threads through these fights. Zero and crew, they tried to make it happen, but they just were not able to seal the deal. It really just came down to a lot of individual mechanics, the micro that was coming in from them. Overall, the decision-making wasn't too bad. As you can see, they were able to do some decent structural damage here, but just the team fight synergy coming out from FTD was too much for Existence to deal with. Overall, they had a decent composition. The draft was solid from them. They did play this quite well, but they just were not able to find those key team fights. Zero, as you can see here, trying his best. Look at the health bars from the side of FTD, but it just wasn't quite enough. They couldn't line up that team shot, that team synergy here, and that's what really cost it for Existence here in game number 1. And due to that, FTD do end up taking it, as you can see, 24-7, a very strong showing from them. Game number 2 followed much of the same suit as game number 1. This time, though, however, it was FTD who were very much so the aggressors. They were constantly the ones leading the charges here, playing a much more aggressive team fight style composition. And Arena of Violet this time pulling out the, now I want to say, signature Wisp. The teamy play coming out from the side of Existence was pretty solid. It tried to set up some initiations, tried to get some picks, but it just was not enough. This was pretty much a steamroll here. FTD found their stride here. Watch the damage coming out from Arena of Violet. Those AoE crits doing so much work here, and we're seeing Wisp. I mean, probably its highest form right now. Arena of Violet is an ADC player to be feared. Those marksmen are so good coming out from him, and that was part of the reason that this was such a dominant showing for the Dream. They take game number 2 as well, and they stay here in the top 8.
And with that win, 2-0 over Existence, For the Dream secures themselves a spot back in the top 8. Now, in Virum, we've casted For the Dream quite a few times. Does the fact that they were placed in relegation create sort of a humbling experience and potentially create a fuel for the fire coming into week number 4?
I think this was a huge growing experience for this team. This shows that even when they do stumble, they can pick themselves back up. They have what it takes to come back in this, and they need to do that because there are only tougher opponents ahead.
Well, with Europe done and completed, let's kick it on over to North America, where we had 2 relegation matches as well. The first being Non-Toxic Gaming taking on Team Upsla. What did we see in this match in Virum?
What we saw was a strong showing from the veterans of Team Upsla, the newcomers Non-Toxic Gaming getting shut down in the early game because the aggression coming out from Upsla was just way too much for them to deal with. These jungle invades from the very beginning of the game put the side of Non-Toxic on the backstep, and they just could not recover. It was a combination of factors. If you watch these team fights, the way the chain CC comes out from the side of Upsla is so beautiful, combining ththose stuns, those knockups, and the way they're able to split themselves up and peel in these fights. And the other big factor has to be God on this Max. He was constantly coming into these fights at key moments, as well as getting good split push, actually doing well out laning an Omen. That is not something that should be happening. When you combine this with a Kilgroth play of Flowery, they were just able to split up the side of Non-Toxic constantly in these fights. They were reducing them down to a 1v1, which Upsla was feeling very good about, as they were able to win on pure mechanics. Combine that with a great sense of macro play, and Upsla looked dominant in game number 1. Non-Toxic Esports, the newcomers, do end up falling here from a very, very strong performance of Team Upsla. They take game number 1. There was a pattern to be found in a few of these relegation matchups, and unmitigated dominance was one of those patterns. Game number 2 was very much a replay of game number 1 here, except even more solid for the side of Team Upsla. They did not give Non-Toxic Gaming a single moment to breathe. The outplays coming in from the side of Upsla were just savage here. They ripped the side of Non-Toxic Gaming apart. There really wasn't an opportunity for them to come back at all in this game. It was one of the strongest individual performances we have seen yet in the Valor Series. Upsla was just playing on a completely other level. Every single time it looked like Non-Toxic was going to get a kill, they were able to peel back, split the team, split the focus fire, split the damage coming in from Non-Toxic, and Upsla lived time and time again. This allowed them to just wear down the side of Non-Toxic Gaming. Some nice little individual plays coming in, but it wasn't enough, as we saw every single member of Upsla playing at their highest level, and in the end, only one kill was secured for the side of Non-Toxic Gaming, and with that, Upsla secures their spot in the top 8.
And by outplaying their opponents, Team Upsla walks away with the 2-0 victory, securing their spot in the North American top 8 for week number 4. What does this mean for Team Upsla coming into next week now?
This is definitely the confidence boost that they needed. They came into this looking so strong. Outplaying was exactly the term. They looked so solid from start to finish. They need to now apply that to these future teams. If they can play with that confidence moving forward, this is going to be a team to be reckoned with.
Well, our final North American relegation match was between Glory Awaits Us and One Trick. Now, we've seen both of these teams before. How did this series play out?
This was definitely our most competitive relegation matchup. Both of these teams came out of the gate swinging, but we did see One Trick coming out with that first blood. But Glory Awaits Us was not going down without a fight. They were able to get some counter pressure here into the jungle, getting some decent invades, but really it came down to the team fighting of One Trick here that was able to propel them through this early game. Despite some nice solid play from Glory Awaits Us, they weren't quite able to get the pressure on the map. The split pushing coming out from the side of One Trick was really another big deciding factor here. And once they were able to start to get those items rolling, their team fighting really came online. The way they chained their CC in these fights was absolutely fantastic. Glory Awaits Us just didn't quite have that same level of communication here. As you can see in these fights, watch the way that One Trick is able to just lay out the entire opposing team here. Glory Awaits Us just did not have an answer to this. The Ryoma play in particular with that lumbar, those combinations were absolutely perfect. Chaining those stuns, those knockups back to back to back. Glory Awaits Us falls in game number 1 as One Trick takes it. Game number 2 followed very much the same pattern as game number 1, except with one minor difference. The teams have swapped sides. Glory Awaits Us were the ones who came out swinging in game number 2 here, and a lot of that came off the back of some amazing Jinnar play. Not a hero we see too often, but putting on a clinic is Glory Awaits Us here with that. The combination of the Zenial as well, able to keep Jinnar and crew alive, and of course, the Violet play here. So solid from start to finish, but really, the Jinnar was the deciding factor here. Not really knowing how to deal with this hero was the downfall here for the side of One Trick. They also weren't able to get the same map pressure that they found in game number 1, because it looked like for the first time here, Glory Awaits Us found their stride in terms of aggression. They were the ones picking these fights. They were the ones counter-engaging beautifully, and this high ground push, as you can see, they looked indomitable. They were looking to focus in on the core here. The respect was just not being paid by One Trick. Glory Awaits Us is like, all right, we're just going to look to end the game here. And Always Green and crew just not respecting the damage coming out here from the side of Glory Awaits Us here. And once again, as I said, this Jinnar play looking so amazing. And with that, taking it to game number 3, we see the side of Glory Awaits Us with the win. This series definitely followed the trend where one team came out blazing and did not look back. This time around, it was Glory Awaits Us on the receiving end of the punishment of One Trick. It seems that both of these teams, when they get a composition they feel comfortable with, are able to absolutely dominate their opponent. And this time around, not getting that pivotal Jinnar was a huge factor for Glory Awaits Us, because they just could not hang with One Trick in these fights. The amazing Wonder Woman play combined with that Zenio from Bruticus, there is a reason these heroes are so highly contested, and we saw it exemplified in this game. Really, once again, the team fighting just came online. Glory Awaits Us couldn't hang. The Violet play, always such a threat on the backline. Zelf constantly dealing out that key damage, and it was Glory Awaits Us who will end up falling here. One Trick, they keep their spot in the top 8. They don't go back to relegation. So now it's up to Glory Awaits Us. We know they can take games off these teams. We know they can hang with the best. They need to show us they can come back in the next open bracket, because they fall, and One Trick stays in the top 8.
Now, while it was taken to the 3-game series, One Trick still walks away with the victory 2-1 over Glory Awaits Us.
It was definitely our closest relegation series. One Trick, they came out on top. They're able to adapt, but it wasn't the cleanest of series. They need to get better moving into week number 4, because if we saw the same mistakes we saw there, it could be tough for them. Let's put it that way.
We've seen lots of changes over the last couple weeks, and as proof with both the quarterfinals as well as what we're seeing here in the relegation matches, it's an opportunity for anyone to sign up and potentially have a chance at success.
I mean, you saw these games. Do you think you can do better? You should sign up. This is your opportunity to get in there. You look at these teams every week and you say, man, I can do that. I have a group of friends. Just do it. Put your money where your mouth is. Go out there, sign up. This is your opportunity to make it in the Valor Series. It's the first time we're doing this. It's a huge opportunity.
There's plenty of opportunities for you to sign up. Indeed, make sure you head on over to esl.gg/Valor Series EU or esl.gg/Valor Series NA in your respective region. That's going to do it for us here at the Relegation Recap. Make sure you tune in Wednesday for our next broadcast. Week number 4 is coming up soon. We'll see you guys then.